Hey, I'm ChristopherJMUA and welcome back to my channel. Unless you've never been here, of course, then welcome. I'm so glad you've stopped by. Because today we're reviewing the Makeup Revolution Creative Volume 1 palette, or Volume 1 Creative Palette. It's kind of like it's sorted into different creative categories with different tones per palette, so you can choose the tones that you prefer. I figured since this was the first one, this is the one I could start with, then I could go from here eventually. This is the first time, I'm pretty sure anyway, that I've ever tried a Makeup Revolution palette or eyeshadow, so I'm really excited to get into this and see exactly what these shadows perform like. So if you want to know what they're like too, if you want to know what this color story is, what this performance is like, and what I think about this palette, and see if maybe you might want one too, then stay exactly where you are, keep doing exactly what you're doing, and keep on watching. Now I'm gonna go ahead and unbox the palette, and as I show you what the palette looks like and as I'm unboxing it, I'm gonna go ahead and read the description of the palette off of Ulta's website. I did purchase this from Ulta for $7.49 is what it says it's listed at right now. I don't think I got it for that, actually. So this is a very, very affordable palette. Online, it looks like it has 3 out of 5 stars. Doesn't sound very promising. One of the 2-star reviews says, "This palette is genuinely so bad. Coral is the only decent shade." A 3-star review says, "It's because of the shimmers. Mattes in the palette are nice, but the shimmers." A 1-star says, "I should have read the reviews before buying it. This palette is my first Makeup Revolution eyeshadow palette. It was a big disappointment to say the least. The colors are beautiful in the pan, but do not transfer to the lid well. I tried various eyeshadow bases, different consistencies, and nothing seemed to work. The eyeshadows were so patchy. I made the mistake of taking only this palette in my makeup bag for a recent vacation without even trying it first. Let me just say I had to make bronzer and highlight work as my eyeshadows because this palette was useless." 5-star review says, "I love this eyeshadow palette. I've already done 2 makeup looks with it, and the eyeshadow palette is so pigmented. Definitely worth the price, and the packaging is gorgeous." Another 5-star review says, "Great for the money. I personally really enjoyed this palette. I've had it for a week and have made a point to test as many shades as possible. So far, the only shade I have a problem with is the bottom right purple shade. I especially enjoy this palette's color scheme. It's a nice mix of neutrals and brights. I honestly have no ideas why the reviews are so bad." Well, I guess it's time to find out. I mean, for $7.49, I honestly don't expect amazing, but I expect it to work, you know? So let's unbox it. It shows on Ulta's website this is an exclusive palette from warm bronze and neutral tones to pops of canary yellow, fuchsia pink, and turquoise hues. Get creative with Makeup Revolution's Kaleidoscope Creative Volume 1 Eyeshadow Palette. Inspired by the feathers of a peacock, shake your tail feathers. I gotta admit, I kind of love the outside packaging. I think that the unit carton and the component itself is absolutely gorgeous. I would love to carry this in my makeup bag because it's just worthy of showing off. It's really, really pretty. So I really do hope it's great. I really do. I have high hopes. Now, you know, before I will allow myself to touch a palette and go into it with my eyes and go into it with a brush, I have to swatch it for you guys first. So I'm gonna go ahead and zoom you guys in, and we are going to swatch all 24 shades. Here we go. The first shade is called Inventive. The next shade is called Creative. Next shade is Epitome. Next is Abstract. The next shade is Avant Garde. Next shade is Inspired. Oh, wow. That surprised me. Next is Artistic. Ooh. Very nice. Then the last shade on the top row is Flawless. Wasn't a flawless swatch. I think the next shade is Exquisite. I thought I knew how to spell exquisite, but this says EQ, and I don't know if that's how you spell exquisite or not. The next shade is Color. And it ain't color, it's color. Next is Individual. Next is Trendsetter. It's a very pretty cool toned yellow. Next is the shade Prize. Oh my goodness. Wow. Hello. Next is Quirky. Next is Dexterous, like ambidextrous. And the first shade in the last row is Possession, and then Divination, then Territory. Ooh, that's pretty. Then the shade Magic Trick. I'm glad it didn't do a magic trick then and disappear. Bah. The shade Visionary. The shade Black Heart. Then the shade Perceptive. And the very last shade is the shade Formative. Okay, and that is every shade from the Makeup Revolution Creative Volume 1 palette. And as always, I will insert photos of the swatches, one with flash here, and one without flash here. Now I'm going to show you guys a close-up of the swatches. I know I do this normally for eyeshadow palette reviews anyway, but I feel like it was especially necessary for this palette because my lights drown out a lot of these shades. When they're actually really gorgeous on the swatch, you just can't see it hardly. That one is very overpowering, in a good way. Swatches are done. Now, I don't think those swatches were necessarily the greatest swatches, but we all know how swatches are, right? But I love swatching so I can see the color story of a palette all laid out on my arm instead of being grouped the way that it was meant to be seen for marketing. I just like seeing the colors. And it helps me kind of get a feel for what I'm gonna be working with, you know? So now I'm gonna go in with my Makeup Revolution Cut Crease Canvas and I'm going to prime my lid because I want some shadow on my lid. It is time. First, I'm gonna use the Morphe R37 Big Fluffy Brush, what I always seem to start my eye looks with. And I'm gonna go into the shade Abstract first. And we're gonna see if we can build this up in the crease. We're building up pretty nicely in the outer crease. I think I'm gonna go in with a different color on the inner crease, but so far, I mean, it looks fine. Those reviews honestly had me worried at first. I just thought I was gonna go in with the first shade and it was gonna be disastrous, but it's not, and I'm happy. And don't get me wrong, I always go into every eyeshadow palette review with high hopes, no matter the cost, no matter the creator, because no brand wants to do a bad job. I mean, who wants to make a crappy palette, you know? I prefer giving the benefit of the doubt, going into it with arms wide open, and giving them the chance that I feel like they deserve. And here we are. And now, using my Morphe M453 Fluffy Tapered Brush, I'm gonna go into the shade Trendsetter and put that on my inner corner. The yellow also builds up very, very nicely. It's just about as punchy on my eye as it is in the pan, and I'm satisfied with that. And I'm gonna bring Trendsetter back just a little bit to start blending it into Abstract, just to get that yellow and orange blended together nicely. And now I'm gonna use the Morphe M330 Tapered blending brush. It has like a little point on it, and it's also synthetic bristles instead of natural bristles, so it's gonna be a little bit better for pushing the shadow around, and it's not gonna pick up as much shadow. So with this one, I'm gonna go into the shade Flawless. And this one, I'm gonna sort of wing out just a little bit. Of course, I'll have to clean up that edge because that's not pretty. That's why I like this brush for this outer edge, because that little point that it has on it, since it's tapered, really lets me move the shadow where I'd like. I've got the power! But I also have a flat side to the tapered part, and I can use that to push in shadow and blend it like this way. Now the yellow has taken over a little bit more than I want it to, so I'm gonna go back in with the R37 brush and back into the shade Abstract and just start to blend it a little more forward. I mean, I don't mind the yellow, it's just a lot more intense than I wanted it to be. I want it to be almost more like an inner corner highlight moment pop, but a little more blown out than that. Not quite as saturated as an inner corner highlight pop. That's the new official name for it. Inner corner highlight pop. There we go. It's toning it down just a little bit more. I'm happy with that. Ooh, that's really pretty. Looks like a sunset. I'm also going to continue using this shade to kind of shape the middle of my eye. I want to follow where my brow goes and kind of go up that line right there, like upward to this way to the arch of my brow with the shadow, just to give it more of an elongated, like blown out type look. It makes my eyes look bigger. That's why I like doing it. Makes it appear like I have space to put shadow down, when I really don't have a lot. The only thing I'm not specifically drawn to with this palette is the fact that I can't really tell some of the shimmers and the mattes apart. I think it's because they're more of like satin shades, but as an example, the shade Inventive right here looks a lot like Abstract right here, and I couldn't really tell that one was a shimmer, but it turns out that Inventive is a shimmer, or I would have used that as my crease color or transition shade instead, but it's more like a satin type of shade. I don't even know if you'll be able to see the shimmer on camera. Well, yeah, I mean, you can kind of see that it's satin. It has a little bit of a shine to it. Just kind of throws me off in some of the shades because they're not foiled so much that it makes it obvious that they're a shimmer or satin or whatever. Using the Morphe M506, a little tiny blending brush, I'm gonna go into the shade Black Heart now, and I'm going to very lightly use this in my crease area, only on the outer V part of things. I just want to deepen it up a tad, just to add some dimension to it. This looks a little muddy to me now at this point, so I'm gonna go back in with the M330 Morphe brush and back into the shade Flawless and start to build this up in my outer crease area again to see if maybe I can mix the deep brown with the black and make it look more like a deeper brown. Maybe, possibly. I just feel like the punch of the color has kind of gotten lost, and I really want to bring it back because I really liked it. I'm also going to do the same thing with the R37 and the shade Abstract again. Just going to re-intensify that shade outside of Black Heart and just mesh everything together, hopefully. That's what my goal is. And lastly, using the M453 and going back into the shade Trendsetter as well. I'm finding that with this palette, you can get shades built up to being very pigmented, but it takes a lot of building. You just have to keep adding and adding and adding to get it there. Also, I don't feel like the shadows are very punchy in the first place. Like, I don't feel like they have a whole lot of pigment to them. The next thing I would like to do is go in with my Morphe M204 big flat packing brush, and I want to go into the shade Prize. It's like a coppery gold, and I'm not wetting the brush or anything. I'm just gonna go straight in. Ooh, wow. Okay, for $8, that's not bad at all. This shade was calling my name from the moment I opened this palette. I think that's really, really pretty. I like that a lot. I'm also gonna use my Morphe M326, a little bitty, I guess, flat packing brush, technically. And this time I'm gonna go into the shade Creative. I'm gonna put that right on the inner corner. Kinda give it that little bit of yellow shine. Wow, the shade Creative is actually really pretty. It looks just like the matte yellow, but shimmery. I'm also going to take the Morphe M416 brow bone highlight brush. This time I'm going to go into the shade Artistic and use that as my brow bone highlight. Ironic to be using a brow bone highlight brush for this. Ooh, that's pretty too. That shade definitely makes a very pretty brow bone highlight. On my skin tone, it looks just like perfectly bronzed skin. Maybe a little lighter than bronzed. I'm also gonna take just the tiniest bit of that shade with my pinky and pat it right on the center of my lid. Oh yeah. Oh wow. That really tied the lid together. Using the Morphe M506 again and going back into the shade Blackheart, I'm also going to take this shade and put it on my outer V. That way I can deepen up the lid and kind of bring the lid into the look as well. Built up the black quite a bit. Now I'm gonna go back in with the shade Flawless on the Morphe M330 and just blend out some of that black. Just the edges though, because I still like the intensity that it has down in the outer V and in my crease. Just need to kind of lessen it a little bit right up here in this area, but that's easy enough. Just keep this one concentrated where I want it and blend downward with the black. Hopefully that'll work. Okay, I think I'm done with this side now. I'm pretty sure, at least with the upper part. Still have to do the lower lash line, but I think I'm happy with the top for as good as I can get it with this palette for now. So I am gonna go ahead and do the same thing on the other side, and once I finish that, I will be right back. So I'll see you in just a second. I have now finally completed both sides. I don't know why this side took me so long, like way entirely too long. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and do my complexion products like my foundation, concealer, bronzer, contour, the whole shebang, and finish my face. Once I do that, I will be right back and we will finish off the lower lash line and I will give you my final thoughts on the Makeup Revolution Creative Volume 1 palette. After much deliberation, I have now come back with my face done. We have our foundation and concealer and contour and bronzer, and I am tan. Kind of. Let's just pretend like I'm tan. Anyway, now we need to add a little bit of love to the lower lash line because it does feel loveless at this moment in time. I was kind of considering staying with this whole sunsetty yellow to orange theme, but then I thought, why? What's the point? And that led me to changing my mind. So I'm gonna go in with a Morphe M113 flat brush into the shade Color. And since that is a bright, crazy pink, I'm gonna tight line my lower lash line with this very, very carefully. So I'm gonna go right up against my lash line. Odd color choice? Yes. Beautiful? Yes. And at this point, it's time to take the Morphe M222 chubby little fluffy blending brush. And this time, I'm gonna go into the shade Dexterous. Dexterous. I always want to say ambidextrous every time I see it. I'm gonna use this to blend out the color Color. I think I like that. I'm not sure what happened to, well, both colors, really. Maybe I need to pack it on first, then maybe blend it out a little bit. what I can see is kind of pretty. I'm gonna use the M330 again and add a little bit of the shade Flawless on it. Just the tip, because I don't want the whole thing, but I just want it right on the end. And I'm just gonna take that right on the outer corner of my lower lash line and kind of blend that up and into the outer V. I just really feel like my lower lash line is missing something. And there is now fallout from the shade Dexterous on my nose area. Not anymore. Wow, that just brushed away. Now the eyeshadow is officially done. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish off the eyes with some liquid liner, a black liner in the waterline, and some lashes. And that should pull everything together. My face is now completely completed, and here we are with the final look. I do think this look is pretty. I really like the yellow pigmentation in the front, and I like the blend to the back. Once I got the lashes on and the eyeliner on, everything kind of came together, and I'll admit it does look better now than I thought it did before I did all of that. But, that's a very big but, like thick but. It's not the best pigmentation I've seen, it's not the best shadow I've used, it's not the best palette I've used. That being said, it did make a pretty look, and it worked well for what I was using it for. The shimmer was actually really blinding, and I wasn't necessarily expecting it to be. The swatch of it was pretty decent, so I was kind of expecting it, but I was also scared because it was $7.40, however much it was, so that part kind of worried me. But let's get to the final question of, would I recommend this Makeup Revolution Creative Volume 1 palette? You know, yes. Yes, because it is under $8. For being under $8, it's really good. I will give it that. If it were like, say, a $20 palette, definitely not. I would not pay that. But for the price, I think it's really, really good. Plus, it has beautiful packaging. So, not the greatest palette, but it is a good, affordable palette. And it made a really pretty look, and I'm really excited about that. I'm also excited to try the second and the third now. I think there's a second and a third, because if I can make a look with this one and it end up looking good, I feel like it would with the second and third as well. And who knows, maybe the formula improved for each one. Either way, I'm excited that we reviewed this, and I hope that you guys were too. If you were, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. It does let me know that you like this type of content, but it also lets other people know that you liked this type of content and lets them watch it and suggest it to them as well. Also, if you like this look and want to see more looks like them, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. My username is the same for everything. It's just ChristopherJMUA. And if you gain nothing out of this video, if you gain nothing out of any of my videos, please at least gain this, and that is to always remember and to never forget that you are absolutely beautiful. And I love you guys. Bye.